Do you feel stuck, or are you struggling to gain the freedom that you thought you would have as a business owner? If so, you're going to love the conversation I'm having today. I've got a special guest with me, and we're going to dig into how to break through barriers. Hi, I am Tim Fitzpatrick with Rialto Marketing. Thank you so much for tuning in. I am super excited to have with me today Elizabeth Payne from Elizabeth Payne Coaching. Elizabeth, thanks for taking the time and welcome.
Hi, Tim. I'm so glad to be here.
Yes, I love it. I told you before we started, this is one of my favorite parts of the week. I love getting people on and just having cool conversations. I always learn a ton of things doing this, as I hope the people that consume all this content get from it as well. So thank you for being here. Before we get into it, I think we probably need to just acknowledge the fact that as we shoot this, it is September 11th, which, gosh, it's crazy to think that that was 19 years ago. I remember exactly where I was, what I was doing when I learned of that news, as I think most of us remember that day. And just want to send thoughts, prayers out to those people that lost their lives, lost family members, and just say thank you to all the servicemen and women that did so much to help this country during that really difficult time. So, gosh, not much else to say other than that, right?
Yeah.
Well, thank you for being here. Before we get into talking about how to break through barriers, which as business owners, we are running into barriers all the time.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit more about what you do, how you help people.
Sure. I'd be glad to. I am an empowerment coach and an expert in subconscious transformation. And I started my career in the engineering field. I was a manager in engineering for 15 years, actually. And
Wow.
I went on this crazy journey and eventually discovered that I was living a dream, but it was not my actual dream. So I ventured out on my own and started Elizabeth Payne Coaching. And now I help business owners that are, like you said, they're feeling stuck, or they are wanting more freedom, more success, more abundance, more ease. A lot of people get into owning their own business for all of those reasons. And then they find themselves stuck hitting their head on the ceiling. And that's where I come in.
Okay, cool. I love that. I'd be lying if I said I've never been in that place where I felt stuck, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think as entrepreneurs, we always run into cases where, it may just be, a rough patch. We're hitting these roadblocks, and it's just like, I have definitely had days where I was like, man, what am I doing?
Yeah.
Why am I doing this? And that's natural. It happens.
Mm-hmm.
And thankfully there are people like you to help us when we run into that.
Yes. And most entrepreneurs, they're always ready for that next level, because let's face it, if you weren't driven, you wouldn't have taken the leap.
That's
and
right.
There always is another level to find.
There is. And I know for me that the freedom is what really drives me.
Oh, yes.
And like you said, I think that's why a lot of people start their own business, for the freedom that it can potentially bring us. But if we don't know ourselves well, and if we don't set our business up in the right way, all we're really doing is creating a job for ourselves.
Exactly.
So I am excited to dig into this. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is the subconscious mind. So tell us more about the power of the subconscious mind, which I think a lot of us are aware how powerful our minds can be, but it's very easy to overlook that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So your subconscious mind makes up 90% of your brain, and your conscious mind makes up 10%. So you can imagine, if you're only working with the conscious part, you're only tapping into 10% of your actual power, which is not a lot. The 90% that's your subconscious, that's actually mostly set by the time you're 6 years old, which is really crazy. I joke with people, if you've never looked at what's in your subconscious mind, you might be playing with the beliefs and the thoughts that your 6-year-old self had. I know, it's like people don't realize that. So sometimes when we're hitting our head on the ceiling, or we have certain limitations, maybe it's certain emotions that keep arising, or a belief that we can't break through, like a specific doubt or belief. Oftentimes it's stored in the subconscious. I like to use a backpack analogy. So imagine your subconscious is a backpack and you've carried it around your whole life and you just throw stuff in there. You can't really look at it. You can't do anything with it. It's just for storing the stuff that you don't have time to deal with. Over time, that backpack's going to get really, really full.
Yes.
And it's going to start to weigh you down. As soon as you start looking at it, taking stuff out, you feel so much lighter and so much more free.
Got it. That's crazy. I have never heard anybody give that statistic about our subconscious being 90% of our mind. That's mind-boggling, actually.
And I'll tell you why it is. If you think about all the thoughts you have during the day, like if you had to relearn how to tie your shoes every morning, you would be noon and you would be like, oh, I learned how to tie my shoes again. There's so many things that you do just on auto programming that have to go into your subconscious, because otherwise there's not enough moments in the day to process all of those things.
Yeah. So how do we tap into that 90%?
Yeah. How do you tap in? That's the magic, right? That 90%. Yeah. So there's a couple different tools and techniques. One of them is awareness. And that's the first step, is slowing down enough and starting to become aware. A lot of people, especially entrepreneurs, they might feel like they're running through life. They feel quite like they're in a hurry, always just moving on to the next thing. Yes. And when you're moving at that pace, you're completely bypassing the subconscious all the time. You're never actually hearing or noticing what is there. It's like a little voice, but you don't really notice it. So the first step is slowing down, because once you hear that little voice, that's the gold right there, because that little voice is actually driving the ship. That little voice is dictating everything, but if you can't hear it, you won't know. It's like you're fighting against yourself. So that's the first step. And then there's some powerful questions that I use with clients that when you ask the question, it will give you typically the response that's actually in your subconscious. So you can start to understand, what am I dealing with and how can I start to reframe things? A lot of times, Tim, it's as easy as, okay, in your subconscious, you believe that entrepreneur life always has to be hard. Like everyone your whole life told you, it's a struggle, it's a strain, it's like the starving artist syndrome, right? Right. A lot of times it's just pointing out to your brain, hey, Uncle Bill told me that whenever I was 9 and I just threw it in the backpack. And also giving yourself examples, like look at all the entrepreneurs that are not having that experience. And then the subconscious will actually let it go. It just needs a counter. Got it. So it's really about becoming aware of the false beliefs that we have in our subconscious. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And most people bulldoze over themselves, right? Like, I mean, it's not like, oh, I think the most fun thing I'm going to do today is slow down and see what my subconscious is telling me. Yeah. Right? It doesn't sound like the most fun, but the thing is, you get used to doing it. And then slowly you get all that junk out of the backpack and you're cruising. Like it's a very big life change. So for someone that's ready and willing to commit to it, it changes the course of their life. Okay. Well, I could see how that's absolutely possible. So I think you kind of touched on awareness. And I think the next thing that we wanted to talk about was about alignment, and what is it? And I think as we were talking about awareness, alignment is
is related to that.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit more about what alignment is and how, as business owners, we can get into alignment.
Yeah. A lot of people, when they hear alignment, they think about going to the chiropractor,
Yeah.
getting your back in alignment, right? This is a completely different kind of alignment. So in a nutshell, alignment is connection to who you are. It's connection to your higher self. And you know if you're aligned based on how you feel. If you feel really good, confident, empowered, excited about life, free, abundant, you have clarity, then you know, okay, I am aligned. I am in alignment. If you're feeling like you're hitting your head, if you're in a space of lack, if there's a lot of fear, worry, you don't have clarity, any of those things, it's not bad. It's nothing to be scared of. It just means you've knocked yourself out of alignment. And sometimes people will say, what's the benefit? Being a business owner and being in alignment. Well, I mean, one, who doesn't want to feel good, right?
Right.
That's always going to make your day better. But when you're in alignment as a business owner, you have access to intuition and synchronicity, and you have clarity about your next steps, about your future, about your mission. And you're feeling good, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So it's when you're in alignment, it is much, much easier to make good decisions,
Yes.
to run your business successfully and prosper.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're out of alignment, you're not going to make good decisions. You may have a hard time making decisions, right?
Yeah.
You're not going to feel well, which I'm also guessing translates to you're tired, right? You lack energy.
Mm-hmm.
And to run a business, you got to be excited.
Yeah, you got to be excited. You got to be energetic, and other people can feel it. They can sense it, right? Like if you're tired, if you're low energy, if you're not excited, other people won't be excited. People always ask me, how am I so magnetic? And that's the key. If you're in alignment, you'll magnetize people to you because people want to be in that energy.
Right. Yeah. They're naturally attracted to be around people like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, we talked about the subconscious mind. Does the subconscious mind help you get in alignment?
Yes. So if people were to say to me, how do I get in alignment, Elizabeth? So that one awareness piece that we talked about, it's what is making you not feel good. So when you first wake up in the morning, when you open your eyes, first, do you feel good? If you do, great. That's a great starting point. Then notice throughout your day what is making you not feel good, and you'll start to see what things are knocking you out of alignment. Most of the time, it's triggers. We didn't say the word triggers on the subconscious one, but whenever you feel triggered by someone or something that's happening in your life, that's almost always something in the backpack. You're not necessarily just triggered in that moment because it's actually making you mad.
Right.
It's always something in the backpack. So once you start to see throughout your day, why am I not feeling good? What's knocking me out of alignment? Most of the time, it's something in your subconscious that once you clear it out, it will stop knocking you out. And your natural state is to actually be in alignment all the time. Like your natural state is to feel good. Yeah. And as you slowly start to knock that stuff out of your subconscious, you get more and more and more aligned, and you notice yourself feeling better every day.
Got it. So it's identifying those triggers that are throwing you off. Yeah. And when you do that, then you can start to look at, okay, how can I eliminate these triggers that are happening that are knocking me out of alignment?
Exactly. Yeah. And the powerful thing is that most people, Tim, have a pattern of a specific emotion that has been going on sometimes for decades. Maybe it's frustration. Maybe it's not good enough. Maybe it's sadness. There's usually a pattern, and there's power in that because once you start to knock that particular one out, it knocks a whole slew of stuff out of the backpack.
I would also think too that as business owners, we have a lot of power and control once we know what things are knocking us out of alignment to go, okay, what do I need to do to not be doing this anymore? So is it, it could be some of the things that we're doing within our business.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden we can say, okay, well, this is knocking me out of alignment. I need to find somebody else who loves this, that this activity puts them in alignment.
Mm-hmm.
And I stop doing this. I delegate it to somebody else. Or maybe it's particular types of customers that are knocking me out of alignment. Well, I need to stop doing business with those people.
Yeah, and bring someone else in. And you're right. Entrepreneurs have more power than maybe the average person to make those adjustments.
Yeah, it's fascinating. So one of the things that I think a lot of business owners are pretty good at is having they started this business, they've got a vision of where they want to take it.
Yes.
So vision is really important. It's talked about all the time. Tell us more about your unique take on, creating visions.
Yeah. I do love visions. Working with vision specifically in this way has completely changed my life. Most listeners probably have heard of vision boards, right? Like they're pretty popular. You have vision board parties. Some people do vision boards every year. And in the business space, like you said, you have a vision for your company or for yourself. A lot of people get frustrated with visions, or they feel like the vision work doesn't work. The key with visions kind of ties in this alignment and the subconscious piece. Visions work because it's an emotional connection that you have with the vision. Now, if you're unclear what your emotional connection is with the vision, it's not going to hold very much power. And if you also create the vision, but everything in your backpack, everything in your subconscious is telling you, no way, there's no way that's going to happen, that's never going to happen, that's when people find that the vision work is not working, is not successful, because it feels good. Like the vision looks good, it feels good. It's like, oh, that feels really juicy. But you got to do that underneath the work to get fully aligned with the vision, and then you're knocking it out of the park.
Is it if I'm in a place where I've created that vision and I'm not really believing in it, is how do you know whether the issue is subconsciously I've got issues there and I'm not believing it, or how do you determine that's not the right vision?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. So normally when making visions, I always have clients feel good before they make a vision.
Okay.
So if you're making visions when you don't feel good, it's not normally going to be the best vision for you. It sounds kind of silly, but you'd be surprised how many people make visions and they're not feeling that great.
Right.
So when you start at that baseline of I'm feeling really good today, today's the day I'm going to write this vision. Write the vision and tune really into the emotions. Maybe it's celebration, maybe it's freedom, maybe it's abundance, whatever speaks to the person. Then on the next step, we close our eyes for like 60 seconds and visualize it and feel it, like as if you're celebrating at that end point. Open your eyes and ask yourself, how did that feel? And if any buts come up, that's your subconscious. So a lot of times the client will open their eyes and say, yeah, but, and there'll be like 8 or 10 that come up. And that's when you know, okay, I've got to get some stuff cleared out of the way.
Got it. Yeah. So those buts are kind of the excuses.
Yeah. Or the beliefs that don't align.
Yeah. Okay. Got it.
Just different habitual thoughts in the mind.
Yeah.
And then the person does the vision for a while. And at any point, if it starts to feel off or if buts come, they just use the same tools and clear through it. Because, you could do it for a month and it feels great. And then at the end of 1 month, something starts to feel a little wobbly. That's fine. Then you just do the same steps.
Got it. Yeah. So it's really about, it seems like all the things we've talked about, it's so important to be asking yourself the right questions.
Yeah.
Which is fascinating because in business, it's all about asking the right questions.
Yeah.
If you ask the right questions, you can break through. But if you're not asking yourself the right questions, you're gonna stay stuck.
Exactly.
So let me ask you this: what are some of the questions that you have clients ask themselves?
So if you have a belief that comes up like, I I could never do that. Like, I'm not well spoken enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not anything like that. With those types of thoughts, it's good to ask yourself, where is this coming from? Like, when is the first time I thought this? When is the first time that I felt this or heard this?
Yeah.
Oftentimes, the person will think about it for a second. Oh, you know what? When I was 9 years old, I had this baseball coach, and every single day he would tell me I was not smart enough. And sure enough, they've been carrying that for 30 years. And then we go back and we say, okay, do you really feel like that baseball coach should be dictating your life right now? And the
Yeah.
answer is always no. It's just gotten stuck on repeat in the brain. So
Yeah.
that's one question is, what is this reminding me of? It could be a parent. It could be, some other adult in your life normally. What is it reminding me of? The other question is, what must I believe to be true to feel this way? So at the root of most feelings is a belief, right? So if
Yeah.
you're feeling doubt or you're feeling fear, there's a belief underneath it. And the brain only holds on to things that make sense. So if you make it not make sense,
Yeah.
then it will let it go.
Got it. And then as you ask yourself these questions and you get the answer, well, and obviously in the example of the baseball coach, should you really be believing this baseball coach that you dealt with 30 years ago? And the answer is, you're just like, oh my God, that's so silly.
It is.
When you get to that root cause,
Mhm.
does that just kind of naturally release what's there in the subconscious?
Yeah, some stuff, Tim, does go pretty easy. Like some stuff I'll see it on the client's face. It will be like, oh my gosh, that's so insane. And they're just like, I can let that go. Some stuff goes pretty easy. If it doesn't, there's other tools that I'll use. There's other specific brain like remapping tools that I can use with clients that will help, because some stuff is a little stickier, right? Like, especially if it's fear based.
Yes.
Oftentimes our subconscious really wants to keep us safe. It's really sweet, but
Yeah.
not at the same time.
Yeah. Yes.
And if it's fear based, sometimes it's stickier.
So it would also seem to me that having the self-awareness of that sticky trait in our subconscious is also going to be really empowering, right? Because when we see that pattern showing up again, we can step back and take that moment, right, to go, okay, I'm falling back into this fear-based pattern or whatever it is. What do I need to do to move past this?
You're totally right. Once you know, I mean, I just love those words you just said. Once you know, like, okay, because every single person has something different that's sticky in their brain, because it's all dependent on individual circumstances. And we all have different backgrounds and different lives.
Yeah.
So once you know that's my sticking point, you're totally right. You're so empowered, because when it comes up, instead of spiraling down, or instead of being more hard on yourself or freaking out or just making things a lot worse than they are, you're right. You can just say, oh, I've hit my sticking point. What can I do now to let go of more of this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fascinating. I love this. This is good stuff. You've added a ton of value.
I'm glad.
Let me ask you one other question.
Okay.
One of the things I talked about, I think it was in the episode I did last week by myself, were some questions to help people better their relationships. But one of the things that always comes up in a peer-to-peer group that I'm in is about the most powerful business question, which is why.
Mm-hmm.
If I want to do something, well, why do I want to do that? Right? To help dig below the surface. You gave some really powerful questions here to help figure out these things that are in our subconscious. It also seems to me that why is very related to those questions.
Yes.
It's like, I'm fearful. Well, why am I fearful?
Right.
What is that?
What is it about?
Yeah. What is it about? And really figuring that out. And I can see how, depending on where it's coming from. Some of these things can be really sticky, as you said, and others we can get past really quickly. But
Ways through them.
yeah,
Yeah, and fear, Tim, fear is one of the biggest things. I mean, there's doubt, there's all these other emotions, but fear is one of the biggest things that stops people from moving forward with more freedom and more
yeah,
success and more ease, because fear is the one that's mostly tied to survival, right?
right,
And that's
yes,
our survival instinct. Yeah. So you're totally right. A lot of people don't grow up when they have fears learning to look at the fear. It's kind of like the elephant in the room. A lot of people just run through the fear, or they ignore the fear, or they brush it under the rug.
yeah,
And oftentimes it's not as bad as it feels like it's going to be
yeah,
once you actually just look at it and kind of dissect it and say, is this really possible that it's going to happen? Or am I just projecting someone? A lot of times it's someone else's fear, right?
right.
That you've just embedded deep in your mind. So yeah, you're totally right. With fear, knowing the why is so empowering.
Yeah, that reminds me of, I think it was Mark Twain. I hope I'm not botching that, where he said something to the effect of, face your fear and the death of fear is certain. It was
Yes.
something like that.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
And so I think we all, as business owners, we all battle fear at some point. But when we face it, oftentimes we find that, what we had conjured up in our mind wasn't quite as bad as we thought it was going to be.
Yeah, or maybe it's someone else's fear and it's not even
Right.
applicable for us, but we were feeling it. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I can definitely see how, especially fears that are rooted in your upbringing, that were transferred from your parents or siblings, day in, seeing that over and over and over again can be really, really deep seated.
Gets pretty heavy.
Yeah. Well, Elizabeth, this has been awesome. I've gotten a ton of value. So I really appreciate it. I know that people that listen or watch will get a ton of value from it. Where can people learn more about you?
I've got my website, elizabethpayne.com, and I'm very active on LinkedIn. So if people want to connect, I would love to. And if you feel like it's a good fit, possibly you feel called to work with me, set up a time. I always do a 30-minute chat just to make sure it's a good fit. But I'm so excited to go on the journey with anyone that's ready, Tim, because it's really next level.
Yeah, very cool. And I'll just say it's Elizabeth Payne, PAYNE.com.
It won't be a pain.
Yeah, exactly. There will not be PAIN. Okay. So when people work with you, what are your engagements typically look like? Just so we know.
Yeah. So there's a 3-month or 6-month commitment.
Okay.
The 6-month is for someone that either wants to go a bit slower or they might be busier. We don't meet as often. In the 3-month, we meet more often.
Okay.
It's always over Zoom for the one-on-one part of it. And check-ins in between Zoom calls are done via Voxer, which some people aren't familiar. It's just like a messaging app that's free. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. So 3 or 6 month engagements, depending on how fast you want to move, how much time you have. If you are interested at all, you're stuck, please reach out to Elizabeth. I think she's proved in our conversation here that she knows what she's talking about and offered a ton of value. So thank you for that. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Again, I am Tim Fitzpatrick with Rialto Marketing. If you want to gain clarity on where to focus your marketing efforts right now to get the best return, pop on over to our website at rialtomarketing.com. That's RIALTO marketing.com. Click on the Get a Free Consult button. You will get a ton of value from the call and walk away having clarity on where you need to focus right now. Remember, marketing your business shouldn't be a challenge. All you need is a plan. Thanks for tuning in. Till next time, take care.